Now I'm going to talk about presenting tips. Now most of you are going to be just introducing a check-in into your community group or men's shed. And that's fine. You don't have to do any presenting. You just got to really get the men sitting around in a circle and getting them to shut up and listen and pass around the stick and get men talking. So you don't need to do much presenting. You might, however, want to present some of these modules. Like you may want to present being interested. You may want to present why is it important to listen, or some of these filters, or some of these how to help people solve their own problems. Now, if you want to present some of those modules, I'm just going to go through some tips with you, okay, about how you need to, what you need to do and who you need to be. So let's first of all look at who you need to be. And this is like a certain, when I say be, this is like a certain attitude and belief that you need to bring to your talk that isn't just about reading from a script. It's about all of you that you're bringing to it. So there's a certain level of intention that you've got to bring. Holding the space. It's very important that you are committed to making sure, for example, the check-in is safe, confidential, people are obeying the rules. You want to make sure that the space is safe and that people have a place to talk. You want to bring enthusiasm. You want to bring leadership, confidence that maybe you're not the expert, you don't have all the answers, you don't have to have all the answers, but that you're in charge and that you're committed to a good result. You want to be telling your own stories and personalizing it and saying, you know, what's your worst listening filter? What's your most unhelpful listening habit? You know, where have you avoided conversations, right? So you want to kind of, where do you show lack of interest in people? So you want to really tell one on yourself and tell personal stories. It's got to be very invitational, so you're never making people wrong. You're never saying to people who don't want to participate, you never want to judge them or assess them. It's invitation. Focus on the people who are a yes and bring them along, and don't worry about the others who aren't interested. Patience is really important because not everyone's going to get it. And empathy is crucial because, do you know what? Not everyone's going to feel the same way about you, about this that you do. Not everyone's going to think the same way. And you need to have a real understanding that there's going to be lots of different points of view. So that's who you need to be. So some presenting tips. Well, I know I'm sitting down right now delivering this video, but standing up is really important. And at our training sessions I do, people feel very uncomfortable standing up because they think it's like creates a hierarchy or superiority over the people sitting down. That may be true, but that's actually really effective. When you're standing up, you have authority. People are listening. People are saying, okay, this guy's in charge of this meeting right now. I've got to listen to him, right? So having that authority is actually a very good thing when you're trying to introduce something. And I wouldn't be afraid of being the tall poppy, okay? Breathe. And don't try and rush through the topic. Keep breathing, checking in. Take your time. Pause after the end of a sentence. Make sure people are getting it. Look at them, right? Watch the time. Make sure you don't run over. All you have to do is deliver what's in the manual and tell a couple of stories that are your own. Make sure people are engaged. So look for allies in the audience. Look for people who are nodding, who are going, yeah, Look for those people who are responding and speak to them. And they're your allies. They're the guys who are really going to help you, give you encouragement to keep going. Stand in your commitment, even if it isn't going the way you think it should go, that you're not getting the response that you think you should get, because you won't always get the response you think you should get. How many dud events have I led in my life? I mean, dozens, right? And keep breathing. keep breathing. Managing questions and feedback is a really important skill to develop, because what I see, and what I see very often, is when people are facilitating an event, they'll say something quite important, like, you know, many of us avoid difficult conversations. Does anyone have an example of that? And then when no one says anything, they go, okay, and they rush through to the next point. Don't do that. Don't do that. When you ask a question, stand there, stare them down, and don't move on until they answer a question. And even if it comes to the point where you actually have to pick on someone, hey, Daryl, what do you think about that? Or hey, John, what do you think about that? It's really important that when you ask a question, you get an answer, because it's important for engagement, and you're actually getting them thinking, and you realize they're beginning to realize that this is a two-way street, that their participation is important, and that's part of the learning process. And also, it establishes your authority as the facilitator. And don't ever judge or resist or argue with someone who has a differing opinion. Someone might say, this is just such a load of crap. You know, why are we doing this? This is nonsense. And what do you do with that? Certainly, don't resist it. Don't argue with them. Don't call them names. Don't judge them. Don't kick them out. Just say, I get it, man. This isn't your thing. I really get it. I totally get it. Is there anything else you'd like to say? And my experience is that in dozens of years of leading workshops like this, I've probably had a handful of people get really upset and walk out. And I've always had a colleague to go and find out how that person is doing. And in every case, it's got nothing to do with the meeting. It's got something to do with their life, that's going on in their life, that they're upset. And they really appreciate someone coming out and showing the interest and caring. So, you know, if things get really bad, that someone storms out of your meeting, it's actually got nothing to do with you. So don't worry about it. And then, lastly, you don't have to have an answer for everything. You don't have to have an answer. You don't have to know everything. It's not your job to know everything. You might say, well, I don't really know. Someone might say, where did all these 4 questions come from? What makes this guy, Miles Protter, so smart? You know, who is he anyway? He's not some psychologist with a PhD from Harvard. No, you're right. I'm not. I picked it up through experience. And all we ask is that people try things out, you know? It doesn't have to be a big deal. So you don't have to have an answer for anything. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know where the quotes come from. And that's absolutely fine, and say that. So I hope these presenting tips have been helpful, and I really encourage you to take on getting up in front of people and try presenting. And you know what? If you fall a bit on your face and maybe make a couple of mistakes, that's okay, because these people really appreciate you having a go. I promise you they do. Good luck.